Hey guys, welcome to the Get Going Fast page. I'm Gary, or Jim Day as they sometimes call me if you're dealing with other stuff besides AI. So welcome to the channel. I'm committed to helping you guys get going with your AI journey because it is an excellent hobby. And to be honest, you don't have to be a computer scientist or an uber nerd to enjoy this stuff. You just got to be someone that likes the tech, wants to play, and can ignore the nonsense going behind you. And that's what I'm here for, is to help you guys learn the basics. And with that in mind, what I'm going to be starting to do here with y'all is we're going to start going through a series of ComfyUI tutorials. Just real basic stuff. So if you're people that have been following and you've got like a nice hardy grip on ComfyUI, these probably ain't going to be the videos for you because you'll be like, well, that's so basic. But that's the thing, is we're dealing with Lego blocks, and sometimes you just got to start with one Lego block on another Lego block on another, and then you can start to build stuff. We're like Lincoln logs, you know, just one on top of the other, and then we can start building something bigger. So this is going to be for you guys that are just getting into this industry, or into the hobby. Hey, maybe you're getting into the industry. That'd be great. Send me some of that sweet cash you're going to be making once you build some great stuff. But for those getting into the hobby, you got to start somewhere. And I'm going to tell you, ComfyUI is one of these things where I ignored it for a long time because I'm just like, God, it's just so almost obnoxiously complicated, or it seems that way, that I just was like, let me try finding every other way. But I'm going to tell you the dirty little secret. ComfyUI is so big that it's kind of like spitting in the wind trying to ignore it. You can't do it. There's so much good stuff that we're going to want to be getting going with that it just runs so much better in ComfyUI. Okay, and here's the other dirty little secret. It really isn't that difficult. It just gets a little confusing to our mind looking at this stuff because we assume that because we're new to this that we're not going to understand it. Let me tell you a quick little story and we'll move on. I lived overseas for years ago, and there was this one fellow, and I spoke just enough of the language to get around. And so I'll go up to this fellow, and he obviously didn't speak English, and I said to him in his own language, I said, how do I find this place? And the guy was like, and I go, well, how? No, and I said it again because I was pretty certain that I was speaking it all right. How do I find this place? And he goes, no English, no English. And I said the third time, and then it clicked, and he's like, oh, and then he knew what I was asking, and then he was able to help. But the assumption was he looked at me and assumed that I wasn't going to be speaking his language, so he assumed anything that was coming out of my mouth he wasn't going to understand. But once he got past that, then he could say, oh, I'm actually speaking language, and then he's able to answer. ComfyUI and a lot of this stuff is like that. A lot of errors you get and stuff, a lot of different technical things. We look at it and we assume, well, I'm not a techie. I've never used Linux. I've never watched an episode of Star Trek in my life. I don't know how to do this stuff. And so we just look at it and assume a lack of understanding, when really what we got to do sometimes is just step back from it, move away from our fear and personal bias against ourselves, and be like, actually, let's just look at what this is doing. And then it pops and it makes a lot of sense. And ComfyUI is like that. It's really not that difficult, but you do sometimes need someone to guide you through it. So I'm here, and we're going to start doing a series of tutorials on this that you can be finding here on the Get Going Fast page. As well, over at the Patreon page, you can always find helpful little tips over there on how to be doing stuff. And quick installers so that you can get going fast, okay? Because we just want to get to playing with this. All right, so we're going to just look today at the basics of just the two different types of installs for ComfyUI and how to get them going. Real easy stuff, because we're just going to get you going, okay? But before we do that, I do thank you for liking this channel. I do thank you for subscribing and sharing it with other people, whether it's on X or Reddit or your Twitters or just calling someone over the phone and being like, I haven't talked to you in like 7 years, but you were on my mind and I just wanted to ask, have you heard about Get Going Fast? I appreciate all that. So you guys are what makes this channel excellent. So keep it up, all right? Okay, well, we're going to move on with the moving on here with the beginning. This is chapter 1. This is so exciting. Episode 1 of of getting to going with ComfyUI. You hang in there. We're going to be right back, yo. Okay, first thing we're going to look at is the different ComfyUI installations and ComfyUI in itself. So let's pop over to the browser here. First, before we do anything, I want to show you over here. This is called the ComfyUI blog. So you can actually kind of keep track of some of the different projects they've done. We did some stuff on here, this running HunYuan with your 8GB RAM and PixArt. So this is always where you can see projects. If you see something that gets past my scrutiny, say, hey, Gary, how come you ain't done no videos about this one yet? And I'll go ahead and we'll jump on that. But this is the ComfyUI blog. You can find it real easy, just by doing a Google search for ComfyUI and type in the word blog. Okay, and there it is. All right, easy peasy. So this can kind of give you a heads up of stuff that's going on. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to get over to this repository site. This is the ComfyUI itself. This is where we're going to be installing stuff from. To get here, all we got to do is go to our browser, type ComfyUI, and then we're going to type GitHub. If you don't know what GitHub is, you need to watch some of my other videos about what this is, but GitHub essentially is a repository of everything awesome, okay? So all of the projects that come out that we're going to work with, the vast majority, 99% of them, you're going to find the code and everything, the directions on GitHub, okay? It's an incredible website. You need to have a profile on there. So if you don't have one, go to GitHub and you need to log in and create an account. Okay, so we click on this one over here, from Comfy Anonymous, click, all right? Then she's going to pop up to here. Now, as always, we see all these codes and we're like, oh, do I need it? Do I got to get it? And you don't grab code unless you're told to get it, okay? Or else it's implied. Because the idea is that sometimes we're just like, well, I don't know what I'm doing, so therefore I just better grab everything. And that's not the right way to think about it. Okay, so we're going to pop over here, and if we scroll down, well, actually, we can look up here. Let me give you a real basic. This is what the basic image generator in ComfyUI is going to look like. Okay, so really quickly, let me just explain some stuff. These boxes, these are called nodes, all right? So nodes are bits of code. So if I was writing this in Python or something like this, I would say, like, here's a function. A function is a block of code, right, where I can call it and it does the same thing. Maybe I create a function and it just adds 2 numbers. I send 2 numbers in and it adds that number 1 plus number 2 and it outputs it. That's the function, okay? Every time I call it and I send 2 numbers in, it does the same thing. So these nodes here are essentially the same thing. They're blocks of code or functions, okay, that are used in the ComfyUI application. But then, of course, they're translated, interpreted on your screen in a visual way that we can move them around, that we can play with them. You'll see later you can move these wires and all this stuff. But this is a code. This is called the load checkpoint code, okay? And see, you're going to, over in here, you're going to see that this is where we load different models, like our image models, our Flux, or our Dreamscape, or our Real Vision, or something like that. And so this code is written in such a way that as you click on these things and you choose things, it populates the code. It's really clever. It's very good. And then these wires, you just got to think of it like an old telephone operator lady. She's like taking the wire here and she's plugging it into here, and she's got the headphone on, and she's all like, connect me with this person over at 541. She's like, yes, and she puts that wire there and this wire here. That's what these are doing. So they're connecting code from here. So it's saying this code is running, and then you're going to get some output from it. Put those outputs, have the output fall over to here to this other line of code, because all these codes, they have to have input and they have output, okay? So your input's coming from the left, your output's going out the right. So notice this one doesn't have any input. It doesn't need it. It just starts with pick something, and then we're going to get some, we're going to get our output. So then the output's over to here, and then it's going to have a bunch of options here that you'll be able to set that change the code. The underlying code is the key here, and then it's going to output to the next box. And so it moves through these things like water, or like electricity, like a phone booth sort of thing. And then it comes out to the very end where it saves the image. Okay, so these are called nodes, and this is the key essence of ComfyUI. Now, here's the other thing is regardless of what installation we're going to look at, and we're going to look at two installations. We're going to look at what's called the manual installation, and we're going to look at the portable installation. Beyond the functionality of that, the nodes all work the same. Okay, so the underlying code all works the same. What we're going to look at here on the two different types of installations has just to do with how you as the user are working on your machine. So like if you have a car, right, and you got a real nice car, but this car you can't really work on it yourself so much, you got to take it to the shop, okay, because there's specialty equipment in there, and so you go there, whatever. That's going to be kind of like our portable version. It's going to be real easy to get in. You get in there and you're just moving the gear shifts and you're doing your thing, right, and it's all great. But when you got to get it work on, you got to go down, and there's a little bit more involved. The manual installation is going to be a bit more like you're at your own shop. So you're installing your stuff, you get it, and you can get under the hood a lot easier than the other. But once it's running, it's all a vehicle, isn't it? You're still going to rip, you're going to turn, you're going to be shifting gears, pumping the music, and impressing the ladies regardless, okay? So again, nodes and all the underline, all the overlay, that all going to stay the same. It's just the underline. Okay, so all of that beside, let's scroll back down here, and you're going to see here it says installing ComfyUI. Gosh, my nose is itching here. I'm gonna kiss a fool, evidently. So we get down here, and you can read all this stuff, but it's really not necessary for what we're going to be doing. We can just click on this installing ComfyUI, and it's going to pop us down here. Now we're going to look at the Windows installation. Really, this stuff doesn't change that much if you're running on Linux or if you're running on Windows, or I'm assuming you can run this on a Mac. You just got to follow directions. The underlying ideas are going to remain the same, but we're going to focus on Windows here. And what we're going to do is we're going to see, let's just take a look. It says there's a portable standalone build for Windows that should work for running on NVIDIA GPUs or for running on your CPU only. So your CPU only is going to be like your AMD or your this or that, or if you don't have a good graphics card, you're still going to be hampered though. The application will run, but the stuff you want to do with it might not. So you got to think of it like, I don't know, like like your computer, I guess. Like your computer, you could load Baldur's Gate 3 onto your computer, right? Your computer will successfully load up regardless of how good it is, and it will install Baldur's Gate 3. But whether you're going to be able to play Baldur's Gate 3, that's another thing. So it's saying that ComfyUI itself is going to run on whatever, your NVIDIA card or your CPU or whatnot, it'll run. Okay, but again, like, good luck running Hunyuan or something like that if you don't have something a little bit better. But anyway, so you're going to say it's a portable standalone that should work for running on NVIDIA or your CPU on the releases page. This is the easiest way to get going. Okay, this is the way I'm going to show you. You literally just download a folder, a zip file. It's actually what's called a 7Z file, and just use your WinRAR to extract it. If you don't have WinRAR, you should go install WinRAR. It's very easy. It incorporates into your right button. When you click your right mouse button and the menus come up, it incorporates right in there. So you can right click on a file and say WinRAR, extract here. Easy. So this is going to come down to what's called a 7Z file, and then you extract it and run it. It's literally that simple. Okay, the issue again going to just be that later on when we're installing other stuff, the installation can become a little bit more complicated, but whatever. Okay, then we're gonna, so that's here your direct link to download. Okay, so we'll do this, but we're also going to go look at this other one. the manual install. And this is the one that I suggest to everybody, because again, this is like having your own vehicle, you're having your own garage, you're able to get in there and change the oil yourself a little bit easier, you're able to understand how the tires are, you can, you can check your radiator, all that good stuff. It's a little bit easier with the manual install because you've built it yourself. And the installation is really not that difficult, okay? Again, a lot of times we think it's difficult because we assume that we don't know things, okay? But regardless, you choose which one you want. I'm telling you, if you get further deep into this, you're going to want a manual installation, okay? But if you want to just get going, hit up with your portable. I do want to show you really quickly over on the Patreon site here. I have gone ahead and also give you a for free here the manual installation. You just got to download and click it, and it'll do it all for you. So if you want to have your manual installation, if you want to have your cake and eat it too, you can go ahead and do this, and this will actually be easier for you as well. I think all you got to do is go to the Patreon site, which is at patreon.com/cognibuild, okay? And just sign up for a free account. You just got to have a free account. You don't have to pay for this, and this is me here, and this is you, and I'm giving you that gift there. All right, so you can get that and do the easy install as well. All right, but going back over to here, let's go ahead and look at our portable installation first, okay? So if we just want to get portable install, what we're going to do, let's just, we don't have to worry about the releases page. I'll show you what it looks like, but this is the kind of stuff you can get kind of confused with. So you go over here and you're going to see all these versions, okay? This is the kind of stuff where you just get confused. It's just, all they're doing is they're just updating this stuff. They're saying we put out a new version, here's the stuff, here's the new files. Then you get down here, it's just the same thing. This is the older stuff, okay? And then you just don't worry about it. Just go with the newer release on this stuff. And then you get down here to what's called the assets, okay? So you see your source codes. Your source codes, when you're talking your portable, don't bother with the source codes. I mean, why would you bother? Because you're literally getting the portable version. Okay, so just a heads up. You could click there and it'll download. But we're going to just go over here, and it just says direct link to download. So you might as well just click that, okay? Now, what's going to happen, I'm going to click on over to here, and you're going to see it pops up this window here, okay, to download. So let's just choose a place to download it. I'm going to put mine in a temp folder just because I've already got it installed. But I'm going to create a folder, and I'm going to call it ComfyUI. And I'm going to, it's good idea to label your stuff. Like if I installed it here, the more stuff I installed, it just gets on top of each other. So I want to put a folder that I can put it in, and then it's going to create a folder beyond that. So I'm going to call this ComfyUI, okay? And then I'm going to go here, and we're just going to click on that save button. Okay, so that's real easy. Now if we go over here to let me click on there. Okay, now if we go over to our file explorers, you're going to see there we have it downloaded. Okay, so all I got to do is click into here. You see there is that ComfyUI Windows Portable. So I'm just going to right click on this. Okay, I'm going to go down to my WinRAR. If you don't have WinRAR installed, go install it. Okay, it's a great application. It's free, and I use it for most stuff. You can make a zip file with it as well. It works with all the good stuff. So I'm just going to click extract here, and then let's see if you can see that. Okay, you can't quite see that, so let's do this real quick. Okay, it's going to start extracting it. Okay, now it's a big file. Okay, so look at, you can see up here the size. It's over 1.5 gigabytes. So it's not a small thing, and that's compressed. Okay, so so it's a big file. Let's see how much. Let's see how big it is here unextracted. So look at that. That's 5 gigabytes just for the installation. But here's the thing: the reason this is so big is because it's got everything in it. All right. So if you remember, we're talking about it's a portable version. So It's going to have everything that we would normally install manually. So the manual will end up being this big, maybe a little bit smaller, but this is like the IKEA. It's just, well, it's not even IKEA because you don't have to put it together so much. You got to run it, but it's got the whole pack. So we're going to click here. So notice I was in my temp folder, right? And I created a ComfyUI. Now here's our main folder, our ComfyUI Windows Portable. Okay. And now all we got to do it is click Run NVIDIA or Run CPU. If you don't have an NVIDIA, then you click the Run CPU. If you've got AMD, you'll click this one. If you've got NVIDIA, you click this one. Okay, so let's go ahead and click that. And that is going to go ahead. Let's go back to this. So this goes ahead. Again, it's doing everything for you. Hold on just 1 second. Okay, so you can see it loads up, and then it says to see the GUI, go to this address. So we're just going to click on that, and then that pops up our browser. Now, mine's showing something because I've got some other workflows. I should have probably fixed it up, but this is what you're going to start with. The first time you run this, this is going to come up. Okay, I want to make sure you can see all this. Let me just click on browser. Okay, there we go. And let's make sure you can see the whole thing. Let's get my ugly face out of here. All right. Now, this is what you're going to see. This is your first workflow. So these are called workflows. Remember, we talked about this. In fact, this should look familiar. This is the exact same thing we looked at just a second ago. This is your basic image generating workflow. Now, notice I can move these things around and see how that all follows with it. That's pretty cool, huh? So this clip is going to here, going to here. You'll learn this stuff as you play it. So obviously clip has to do with your prompts, your negative prompts, okay? So you'll learn this stuff just the more you play with it. You don't have to know what an empty latent image is, but you're obviously can go over to ChatGPT and ask it questions. But so you can play around with this stuff, and as we get better, you're going to find that we can move these things and connect them to different nodes. So we're going to get more and more complicated nodes as things go by, okay? And we'll get more like save images with more options. This is your basic one. You're going to start with what's called this V1.5 pruned M-only safe tensor. This is a terrible model. It's just kind of basically something to have. And we haven't even downloaded it yet. Okay, well, that actually should have been there. Not sure why that's not loading. Anyway, we'll look into this. But you basically, this will come down. You'll be ready to go, and you'll click, and it will go through all of that. Okay. Okay, so we're going to pop back over to our File Explorer. Now, we're going to go back into here, our folder. This is where we started. Notice there's an update thing here. We can always click this, okay? And we can click Update ComfyUI. So we'll just go ahead and click that. And let's see here if we can get you to seeing this again. And you can see basically it just runs through a bunch of stuff and updates it for you. So this is going to be the simple way to update your ComfyUI. Sometimes we'll be running stuff and you just need to update stuff, and this is how you do it with this. Now with the manual, we'll do it a little bit different, but this is how we get our basic portable installation going. So I had a brain freeze there for just about a second. All right, so there we have it. Okay, done. Portable installation, you installed it, you downloaded it, it's running. We'll talk about getting models for it here in a minute, but let's go back and now take a look at our manual installation, okay? So let's close this out. Got too much stuff going on here. All right. Okay, actually, before we move on, I should show you over here the Python embedded folder. This is actually the main difference with the portable versus the manual installation, is that it carries its own virtual environment with it. So if you're not sure what a virtual environment is, just watch one of my myriad of other videos that explain them because I talk about them almost every video. But essentially, it's a way of keeping your system safe from any changes that your app is making. So it's like if I got to paint the walls of my house, I put tarp down so that I don't get paint on my carpet, right? Keeps the carpet safe from whatever I'm doing up here. Same way virtual environment does that. In the manual installation, we're going to set up our own virtual environment. In the portable one, it comes with it here, which is this Python embedded folder. So this is everything that you're going to need in here. And when we change stuff up, we're going to actually have to go in here and do stuff manually, and that's what just kind of makes it a little bit more complicated. So it's not that big a deal. We can do our basic updates over here, but when we're going to be following directions that ask us to update our virtual environment manually, we're going to have to be using this. So just at the end of the day, it makes it a little bit more complicated, but you know, yeah, whatever. So let's switch back over to our browser and let's look at the manual installation. Okay, so now the manual installation is not that difficult. Notice we're going to scroll over to here. Oops, doggone it. Okay, we're going to scroll over to here, and you're going to see that down here it says the directions. Git clone this repo. Now we get to looking at saying, okay, we got to get all this code. Okay, because the other one just downloaded the code in the package. This one we're going to have to get it ourselves. Okay, not a big deal. And then we're going to have to download our checkpoints, which I thought the portable was going to have the checkpoint with it. That's your model, okay? So it looks like whatever. And then we got to put our VAEs in here. So this is really all we got to do. It's really kind of simple. There's a few extra steps you have to do to get it to run correctly. But we'll follow through that. Now, notice after here, you got your directories, you've got your models. Then it has directions for AMDs. It has your Intel GPUs. So these are your non-NVIDIA ones, okay? We don't snub our nose at them because listen, if that's what you got, that's what you got. But I am going to say that the vast 90% of AI is built for NVIDIA. So if you don't have an NVIDIA card or you're thinking of updating to an, I strongly encourage you to get an NVIDIA card, okay? Because again, it's all developed for that, all right? So now we're going to get into our instructions, and this is your basic, you know, I'm not even going to go through it so much because you can watch another video I have on how to install it. But pretty much what we're going to do is we're going to git clone this thing. We're going to install the dependencies, and then we're going to run it, okay? So it looks like this. So it looks like this. We're going to go up here, and we're just going to git clone this. So we grab this address, and we go to our command prompt. We get into the folder that we are going to put it in. Now, don't worry. Again, this isn't actually a tutorial on how to install it. It's just kind of a thing to show you what the difference are. So I've got other ones I'll show you. I show you a bit more how to do it. So here, whereas before we had just downloaded that portable file, here we're actually going to type our git clone. Okay, a git is an application that pulls down our repositories. Oops, I got the wrong address. Hold on. Let me pop over here. Okay, so we're going to git clone. Okay, so there you'll see it goes down like this. Why is this not installing? There we go. Okay, I'd missed the letter I. All right, so then you got there and here. From here, we would have to create a virtual environment. Okay, it's really is not that difficult to do. Again, I've got a million things that do this. Then we would activate it. Now, the manual, as it implies, is manual, so there's more work to do it. You're right. If you don't want to do any work at all, then go with the portable, but just know that it's going to cause a little bit more issues down the road, or potential issues. Okay, let's see here. What are we doing here? here we go. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit confused here in the midst of all my pages. But again, it's the whole point is, if you're going to be making this a hobby, you want to learn what you're doing anyways. And this stuff is so basic. The stuff that you're watching me do here, it may look complicated, but it's so simple once you get it. It's so basic. Okay? And you only have to do it once. And then you're ready to go, and it opens up so many more doors for you. Okay? So while that's doing its thing, we can look over here and we can see that what it's done is the same thing as it did before. It's instead of our Python embedded, notice we just have a Vin file. Then we've got our ComfyUI, and in here we have all the same stuff that we would have had before. Okay? In here, models, this is where we're going to put our checkpoints. Okay? We'll talk about that in the next video about how to install images. But same thing. The only difference is that we're going to have to create our own run file. So notice there's no run. Basically what that run NVIDIA thing did is it clicked into here and it ran this file called main. So we can do that. Let me show you really quickly what that looks like. We just got to, we would just do something like this. We would just right click, go new, text document, and we would just call it run comfy.bat. Okay, so a .bat file is a script file. Just means if you click it, it's a bunch of commands that Windows is going to follow. Okay, we can see over here this is still doing its thing. So then we would right click, go to edit notepad, and we just do real simple stuff. Again, I'm not going to bother explaining too much here because we'll get into that later, but we just write how to create it. There you go. Simple as that. Okay? And once that's done, then just like how that other one, you click run ComfyUI, same thing. We just click it here and it goes ahead and runs it. So we would just go, before we run it though, we would go into our, we're already in our folder. We would just do some last minute installations of stuff. Again, this is all one-time stuff. But I'll show you that when this is done, I'll show you though that then when we're installing our extra stuff that we want to do, we don't have to deal with that Python embedded. All we got to do is just get it here into our own virtual environment. So it's like it's the difference between someone else's garage and having your own garage. This is where my tools are. This is where my things are. I can get into it easy. Others, I got to go to someone else's garage, use their tools, and it's just, I'm doing all the same stuff. It's just a little bit more complicated. But you'll see once it's done, then we can just, whoops, I was clicking on the wrong screen. We can just go ahead and click our stuff. Let's go over to here and you'll see that it starts to load. Just like the other one did. See, and actually, I want to show you here, see where it says Vin scripts. Remember, we wrote that in our bat script. That's all a bat script is doing, is saying a bunch of commands. And there you go, same thing. We just click there, go to our browser, and there it is. It pops it up as well, okay? But again, we don't have a checkpoint yet, so we'll have to go download that, and we'll cover that in the next video. But there you have it, okay? So the difference between, there's two, okay, so there you have it. There's two ComfyUI installations, the portable and the manual. The portable, you just download it, extract it, run it. I know if that looks simple to you, do it. It's great, okay? It's fine. Down the road, you're gonna have to learn. It's like paying on a credit card. If you're going to stick in the game, at some point you're going to have to learn this stuff. So if you just want to get going, just get the portable, get it down. When I've got quick projects that I want to do and I need a comfy installation and I know that I don't have to worry about the other stuff, I just download a portable, I extract it, I get it going, I use it for whatever, and then I delete it. It's easy. It's brought down, blah, 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 okay? And then I'm done with it, okay? For my own personal stuff, my own personal projects, I want to have my Comfy manual installation. So on my computer, I actually typically have 2 installations. Okay, actually, I have a 3rd installation because I run this through something called Windows Subsystem for Linux, but we're going to cover that down the road, okay? But that by itself is also a manual installation. So portable is your quick and easy. Let's just get it running. Let's get it ripping. Let's get to snorting and doing it. Yo, okay? Manual is I want to make sure that it's all done correctly, and in the future, I'm going to be able to use this, and they all do the same thing at the end of the day. Okay, so there you have it. If you have any questions, hit me up. You can find me here on YouTube. You can find me on Discord, which I really encourage you. Sometimes it's exciting, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you come in and you're all like, hey, what's going on? And there's like crickets, and you're like, this is... You're like that picture from Pulp Fiction. The guy's like... You know, but other times it's rip and snorting. We do this stuff all day long. We're sharing videos and images. Come find me over there. You can hit me up on Reddit, hit me up on Hugging Space, GitHub. I am on the internet, and I'd love to chat with you, okay? Let me know your questions. Happy to take them. In the meanwhile, you guys stay good. Get into this stuff. Learn ComfyUI, because it's going to be worth it, and you're going to need it, okay? Yo, all right. We'll catch you on the other side. Yo.